How y'all doing?
Well, how is everybody doing this afternoon? How has Orlando been treating you and getting to see the fans and talk with them? Fabulous.
Hi, fans. Robert Patrick, a.k.a. John Doggett.
Well, I'm going to kick things off first with a question for Gillian.
Anybody else?
I just want to say,
just let me hang it out there.
I've always
Somebody
wanted
else says nothing.
to do this.
MEGACON! Gillian?
Got nothing.
I feel like I should be reciting something or singing something, or we need like
Sing us a song.
sing us a song. Nick, sing us a song. Sing a song. Show off. That's my Bert Convey voice.
I am going to kick things off with a question for Gillian first. 33 years later, what do you remember about those early days of filming X-Files, filming that first season and not knowing yet how fans were going to react to it?
Well, I think I was protected by my naivete early on. I really had no idea what the hell I was doing. And I remember talking about this at the time, but I didn't actually know that things ran in like reruns and that there were seasons of things. I'm serious, I literally did not know. So when they were saying, that if this gets picked up, what do you mean if this gets picked up? What do you mean? What does that mean? Because okay, so we're just doing a pilot. What's a pilot? And that it might be 13 episodes. Okay, well that's cool. That would be nice. And then at some point they might add more. All that stuff I was learning as I was going, and so I really started green, about as green as you could be, and every step of the way it was a surprise, but it was a surprise in the way that I'm not sure I actually knew what I had signed up for. And not that I wouldn't have signed up for it, because I was on my last unemployment check, so I would have said yes and signed anything. But it was, the fact that I was signing up to something that turned out to be like a really fucking good gig I had no, it's not like, oh gosh, I'm deciding between this and something else, or I'm deciding to, I got really, really lucky, so, I was as green as they come.
I feel like the longevity of X-Files is something we don't necessarily see the way that we do today. It has, obviously it's stuck with people for so long. And also just listening to that, it made me think about the fact that Mitch and Nicholas, you came in towards the end of season 1 and then got brought back for season 2. Did you have kind of an idea at the onset of season 2 of how big this thing was starting to become?
Listen, I was in season 1 as a completely different character, right? Then I came back in season 2 as Alex Krycek, and I was sort of in somewhat the same boat as Gillian. I had no real grasp of where it might go or how. I was only supposed to be there for 3 episodes to begin with, so while Gillian was off convalescing, and it obviously changed into something much more dramatic.
What were you originally?
I was in Gender Bender, which was an episode in season 1.
You were a different gender?
What?
Did you start?
No, I made out with somebody who changed from man to a woman in the midst of it, and then you guys came and interviewed me in a hospital bed. Yeah, it was pretty memorable. Just Side note, don't ask Gillian about Annabeth coming and singing, doing whale sounds at her bedside because she has zero recollection.
Don't ask me about anything. Because I don't remember anything. But that sounds like a cool show.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going to transpire. When I finished, I did one episode the first season, and then they called me and said, "Would you come back?" I think you didn't really have.
You asking me? For real? I know that I had a baby.
You did have a baby.
I do remember that.
She does remember that. But anyway, it was like, see, I think you were missing some episodes or something like that. So I think they needed somebody to kind of like
Oh, right, okay.
take over or do something because you weren't there. So,
Okay.
and I was there to happily fill that.
Wait, a baby in real life or a baby on? Did she have a baby season 1 too?
No whale sounds required. But anyway, so that gave me the opportunity to come back and really try to establish this guy. Because I think they were looking for somebody to fill that role. They had a couple of other guys in the capacity of being their superior or something to that extent. And I guess.
Is that when you took your shirt off?
No, I didn't take my shirt off yet. But I was getting there. I was thinking about, when am I going to take my shirt off?
I do it to cement my fandom.
But I mean, anyway, so I got to build this character, and I didn't know which way they were going to take it at first, because I thought he was at first going to be an adversary. I think he was. He was pretty much a roadblock to what they were doing, because he was in some way or another being influenced by CSM. But then eventually he became their champion.
Yeah.
Who's your champion?
You were my champion, yeah.
Now, baby.
That is canon accurate. My next question is for Annabeth and Robert. The two of you came in later on in the run, and we're kind of picking up for where things were left for Scully and Mulder. Were you both fans of the series coming in, and did you feel that pressure at all coming into the show and kind of being the new faces of it? You go first.
Yes, there was pressure. I was elated to have the opportunity to join these guys and do the show, because it was a great show and I was a fan of the show. And personally, I was looking for a steady gig on television, and it fit right into what I was looking for, something to do in Los Angeles. It was a great role, wonderful production, great writing. And it's a fantastic cast to join, and they really, they had it down. It was a machine making that show. They had it down. It was fantastic. Every episode was like doing a little movie, and I loved playing John Doggett. I'd still be playing John Doggett if they pay me to do it. It's a great character. I usually play the antagonist all the time, so to be the pseudo-protagonist, or at least on that side, was a fantastic experience for me, so I really, really enjoyed it. But there was a lot of pressure. The internet was new. I had no idea how rabid the fans were. They were super insulted that I would even think about being on the show. Some of you guys are really horrible. The way you describe me, and ooh, we don't want that guy. Jeez, he broke my heart. I didn't even do anything. So sad. So sad. Gillian threw water in my face. But it was a great metaphor. It really was. It was genius that they came up with that. It was like, that's for all the fans right there. So take that and run with it. But it was fun. It's funny. I think back I don't remember most of the episodes, but I do remember that first one. And I remember, really feeling like, boy, I'm joining something quite significant, and it truly is. So, thanks for your support all these years.
My answer to that is yes and no. I mean, I don't think you really can know what the X-Files is until you're on it and in it, and then even now, past its prime, it still has such a legacy, and the fans are so loyal and mostly kind. No, really, I was warmly welcomed. But one of the best things for me, because Robert had come before, he kind of eased the way. And what I love the most is that every time we would have, like, it really mattered to him. And sometimes I think in episodic TV, people get tired, because it is grueling. It is and back in the day when you could work 23 hours, I don't know how you did it for 9 years. But Robert really fought for every scene and every moment. So to have him as a scene partner was good.
It's gonna make me cry. So sweet. So sweet. We did have fun, but I gotta tell you, she's not kidding around. These guys were exhausted. And it is a pace that was like incredible. I remember somewhere, we were on one set somewhere, and there was a little cot set up, and I was like, what's that for? Well, that's for Gillian, she might need a nap. And you gotta catch on, you do like 31 force calls later. Yeah, I never realized that 36 hours existed in a 24-hour day. You were just dog tired. And the dialogue is relentless, it's just coming, and you're trying to flush it out and get the new stuff in, and it's a tough pace.
Gillian perfected sitting in one of these chairs. These chairs aren't comfortable, but she could fall asleep in a chair just all of a sudden. I go, what's she doing? She's sleeping, and she just. I tell you what, I stole that. I learned how to do that, and now I can fall asleep in one of these chairs because a lot of hours. This little girl worked her ass off. She really did.
While I was sleeping, there was I would lie down on the floor.
Well, I hope all of that exhaustion was worth it when you're at conventions like this and you're getting to hear from fans what Scully meant to them. What has it been like for you to kind of hear the impact that character has had on so many people, especially women in STEM?
The Scully effect.
The Scully effect, exactly. What is it like when you're at these conventions hearing those stories? And are there any that kind of linger in the back of your head, like, something I did really had an impact?
I think, because it was something I heard a lot about at the end of when we were filming, and there was a documentary that was made by the Gina Davis Foundation around the effect of Scully on STEM and young women in STEM. And so I was aware of it. I did an interview for that documentary. I'd spoken about it before, and so I didn't actually realize that it was still something that what was meaningful and talked about. Like it was only in the last maybe 5 years again where I thought, this isn't something that's just in the past. This is something that is still having impact. And so it's very easy, I think, sometimes when you do a lot of press, trying to move forward in your career, and there was a period of time where I'm like, do we have to keep talking about the Xbox? I mean, do we have to, can we not for a period of time? And because the whole interview will end up being about this, that, the other, or that would be the headline if I mentioned one thing about, sequel or blah, blah. Anyway, so I was so used to just kind of skirting around topics that were related to talk about new stuff and other things that I was involved in. And then over the last 5 years, realizing how much the impact continues today just for smart young women who are interested in expanding their minds and their brains, and maybe even that might equate to what they then want to do, when they become an adult, or it's still having impact. And I was just at a con in DC, and 50% of the people who came up to the desk for me to sign things were women in STEM in one form or another, either coders or working in cybersecurity, or FBI agents, or people working for the NIH, women working for the NIH who have been impacted. And so, you can't predict the kind of impact that is, but it's always felt very much like, yes, it was me playing that character, but the character of Scully was as much a gift for me as it was for the audience, right? And so, in so many ways. And so, when people say that, I'm proud to be a part of it, but it doesn't, you feel like, is it really? But I'm moved. I'm incredibly moved by it, and very grateful and proud to, that I got to walk in her shoes and to have that influence.
It's a beautiful word. That is directed at all of you, which is, during your time of playing your character and looking back at each of the characters that you played, can you remember any kind of plot lines or storylines that had an impact on you, or maybe either in a way that it made you understand something about yourself, about the world, or even about your character? We can start on either end, or whoever can start first. You want to start down there?
Oh. I was just going to say immediately, 4D and Audrey Polly for me were my two favorite episodes, and I think 4D because, really so much of what they were doing about time and like the time-space continuum and quantum physics, that really affected me deeply, and it changed my perspective.
Very cool. Anybody else? Mitch?
I don't know, Skinner was just, there was a lot of me in Skinner. There was a lot of my dad in Skinner. And I don't know if it changed me, if playing that character changed me at all. It's certainly, I think, solidified a character that I went on to do Stargate Atlantis, and I was basically playing Skinner in a flight suit. It did stick with me,
Nicholas, Robert?
I was just going to say that it seems to me that none of these experiences seem sort of relevant in the moment, and that's probably rightly so. It would be very hard to be on a show and do your best work on a show that you knew that was going to go to the moon. You know what I mean? It's best not to know these things. I'm just sort of reflecting back on the last question a little bit, that you just don't know. You have no idea, and that's way better than kind of, although I really applaud you guys for coming in again to step into those roles in a show that was so well established, and, sort of having targets on your back, but the things that I did, David and I did in the Russian gulag, where they said you're going to have to learn how to speak Russian, or so you have to, a lot of this is going to be in Russian. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to get that done. And lo and behold, I sort of proved to myself that I was capable. And those were some of my absolute most favorite episodes. I mean, it's hard to do. It's challenging to do some of that stuff when you're in the middle of a fight and you're talking to somebody in Russian in a language that you actually don't fully understand, but you're having a back and forth with somebody who's speaking Russian back to you, and you're speaking to them, and you don't understand conjugation or anything like that, so you're kind of just sort of going by memory, but still trying to act, and the show asked certain things of me that I wasn't aware that I could do physically and otherwise, and nor did I know that I would love it as much as I did. I got to do crazy shit, like hanging from 15 floors by a cable, like I never imagined I would do that, running out of exploding cars. It was like Christmas for me every time I opened a script. It was always crazy. And you know, it changed my life, right? I think I can sort of safely speak for all of us here, kind of like in some way or another changing our lives. And I'll always be grateful for that and for the on-set experiences. You know, it was a very rich experience, very fun.
I love that. That's beautiful. Robert, do you want to
Yeah, the whole experience was fantastic. I loved it. It was great.
I'm going to circle back to something you said earlier, Mitch, about the way Skinner starts to become their ally. And I'm curious if you remember like a pinpoint moment in that season or in the season beforehand where you started to play him as seeing them as somebody that he can kind of.
I can remember the exact moment when that happened. It was a confrontation between cigarette smoking man and Mulder and myself in my office. Where I spent a lot of my time. Anyway, and it was when Skinner came to the realization that he was being played for a fool and that he caught CSM in a lie and he knew that Mulder was telling the truth. And it was at that point he looked at Cigarette Smoking Man and he said, "Get out." Cigarette Smoking Man thought that I was telling Mulder to get out. And I looked at him directly and said, "Get out." And I think that's when he became an ally. And I think that solidified the direction that he would be headed for the rest of his time on the show.
Remember what episode that was?
You're asking me that?
It's in season 2.
Was it season 2?
Was it that early?
It was pretty quick.
It was a Dalmatian.
I need that dog.
My next question is for Annabeth and Robert, because your characters had a chemistry to them that felt very organic, and I'm curious about that partnership, and, you know, was it something about finding your own rhythm? Was it in the script? How did that kind of come to be? Because it felt so organic watching it happen.
It was very organic in real life, playing the scenes, you know. It was wonderful. I knew Annabeth before, and it was just great to let it unfold, let it happen. And it was easy, you know. It was real easy to do. She's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a sort of an untold storyline that I wish we could have played out a little bit more, the budding romance of Doggett and Reyes. Or of Scully and Reyes. You never know. But honestly, bring it on! Robert, there was just always ease. There was muscle, like you were always like you wanted to get it right, but there was always ease underneath that. So it was very easy. And we knew each other's, well, Robert he likes to claim that he introduced me to my husband, but he was involved, I guess.
Well, he was mine and Chris Carter's Krav Maga instructor. Yeah, her husband's a real certified badass. He is weighted something else. He's already like an Emmy award-winning stunt coordinator. It's Emmys. Does he want an Oscar? He's an Emmy award, and I've worked with him several times since. But anyway, Wade was terrific. And in the way it plays back in my memory, yeah, I introduced you to.
It was like,
You should say it was Chris. I said, no.
He said, "You should tap that."
Yeah, really?
You were actually the first person that ever used that term.
Yeah, I invented it, right? Did I really say that?
Nobody remembers it. We can all say anything about anything anymore because we don't remember.
Wow.
I don't even know how to segue away from that one.
apparently,
So you're a really good matchmaker, so
you got 2 sons now, right?
Everybody always loves to hear about like prop pieces and costume pieces that actors either took with them or wish they had taken with them. For all of you, is there a piece from your character or even just like their surroundings that you either took home, were gifted, later acquired? You got one?
I have everything that I ever was given or walked away from set with. And it's all in a trunk in my basement, and it's dry, and it's clean, and it's gonna buy me a world cruise when I get there. My arm got cut off on the show. And Kovarubius comes to find me in a Russian gulag, and I'm having a shower, and they made a prosthetic for me that attached to my arm. It made it look like I had a cut off arm, and that's just sitting like in a bag. It's trunk in my basement. So it'll probably fetch $120.
That needs to be in a museum.
It really does. It really does.
How about for anybody else?
I've got, I think I've got every suit that Skinner ever wore on the show. At the end of
It
it,
still fits.
they don't fit. There's certain, I got one of the Letterman jackets. What was the show with the anyway? With the like the goat with the horns on it. Anyway.
Where's that different one?
It was a different.
What do you say?
You guys what I'm talking about? He has the Letterman jackets with he was the high school kids and.
Bloodsucking goat? Maybe it was a different one.
Yeah, I also have, Skinner had on his desk, he had a brass bulldog, and I got that home sitting on my desk. I thought it was very appropriate.
Scully's gravestone.
What's that?
I have Scully's gravestone.
You really?
Scully died. Then she came back to life. I don't remember.
I don't.
Or how or when or why, but she did.
I have every script
Really?
that I did. I mean, I have the 2 seasons, 8 and 9 scripts. I saved those. Gillian told me to save them. Yeah, she said, they might
They
be worth
top
something.
those?
You did say, she saved those. I went, yeah, you're right. I will.
Do you have anything, Annabeth?
I have the very small kind of chimes that were, when I think in season 9 they built Monica's apartment. I think it was season 9. And I have like a little like bell chimes that hung from her door.
That's sweet.
And all of the leather jackets that I wore. I wore a lot of jackets.
You did give us all our wardrobe.
They brought out a rack and they said, take the rack, take it all.
I said that to me.
Would you have taken that clothes?
Oh, I was going to say, maybe not the early years. Pastel, whatever, yeah.
Those outfits you had.
Spandex, pink stuff, yeah, no spandex, polyester. Anyway, no, yes, maybe later on.
They don't do that anymore. They don't let you keep your wardrobe.
No.
They auction off so quick, it's crazy. It's every production now. Coming back to you, Gillian, Scully went through so much reinvention and rediscovery throughout the original series and then even into the revival when you came back. What was your North Star for having, like how you played her when you came back to the role?
Maggie, going deep.
I know. I don't know. I mean, I think in the later seasons when I came back, I struggled. I thought that it would be second nature, and it was harder than I thought it was going to be. You know, coming back for the 10th and 11th seasons. The rest of the seasons were close enough together. but except for the comedic episodes that we did, there was something pretty embedded and constant in her, and I think I probably just, knowing me, I probably would have had a phrase or word at the beginning, phrase or words that I might have said that immediately brought me back into her and her voice, etc. Obviously, years on, that wasn't necessary to do that, but part of it probably would have had to do with her faith and then Chris's voice in my head yelling at me in the first season, reminding me, because I'd only done theater before, and so, when I was doing the same character over and over again, there's part of that I kept wanting to try things out and expand the boundaries of the character and all these kind of things, as if I was maybe even moving on to another role or something, and he kept on me to remind me, no, this is the same person in the same series, episode after episode after episode, and this is what you have to think of. She wouldn't cry at these moments, she's ultimately a scientist, and she has strong faith, and she, is absolutely determined to fight in the pursuit of justice, or whatever it was that he would have said. And, he whipped me into shape.
Did you feel like you had to turn some of your own emotions off or down?
Yeah, I think so, but emotions that were not necessarily appropriate for the character that he had written. It was just I was 24 years old, I was wanting to show my range, He was showing me what the parameters of that range were for this particular character, and I'd never had to do that before, so it was appropriate. But it was new, it was new for me.
Well, you pulled it off beautifully. Another question for all of you, which is, which practical effect or stunt still amazes you when you look back at the series? Practical effect or stunt from that era that still kind of impresses you today?
You know what?
I did a somersault in a burgundy velvet. It wasn't velvet. It some kind of burgundy suit. I jumped out of the window and I did a somersault, and that stuns me to this day. I've seen that picture. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
There's people like Bob Goodwin and Kim and Manners, Rob Bowman, those guys, that were so responsible for what happened on the show after the words were typed out on a page. And what they were able to accomplish, and there was days where in the morning they were on a fishing boat, we're supposed to be in the Pacific, and then they were what's supposed to be Arlington Cemetery, and then in the afternoon we're in Hong Kong, and it was remarkable what they were able to accomplish, and that was all done through just elbow grease, right? Remarkable. And those guys, Bob, I think, is a little bit of an unsung hero. He was executive producer, and so they would always come to me, and it was kind of like this punching bag on the show, right? And they would always come to me and say, "Hey, we're thinking about doing this thing. Would you be interested in that?" And I would always say yes, because I just had a small brain and it was easier. There was one episode where I was talking about earlier, where I ran out of an exploding car, and we got there, a big safety meeting, and they said, "Okay, so what's going to happen? You're going to be in." Rob Bowman says, "You're going to be in the car. You're going to get out of the car. You're going to run as fast as you can. As soon as you cross this line, the guy's going to press the plunger and it's going to explode behind you." I was like, "Okay, sounds good." And I go and I get in the car, and I'm surrounded by containers of flammable fluid, and I was like, "This is scary." And so in the car, safety meeting, sitting there, and I'm okay, so, and action. And I get out of the car and I run faster than I've ever ran in my life. I cross the line and nothing happens. And I look back at the guy who's got the punch and he's like, okay, great. Let's try that again. I was like, yeah, let's do that again. So I get back in the car and I just action and I run as fast as I can and it explodes behind me. And it literally was like somebody hitting me in the middle of my back. And I went down on my face basically. And they're like, great, moving on. And so, but that's kind of like the way it was back then. You know what I mean? It was like, let's just shoot. It's like, kind of the old days, right? Where like horses, like in the old westerns where horses got killed and stuff, it was just, they were safe and they were into it, but it was like anything could have happened. And when they were like, so I don't want to take up too much time, but they're like, okay, so we're going to hang you from 15 floors, which I was talking about before. And I'm like, yeah, sounds great. That'll be so much fun. And I get out there and I'm hanging and I'm like, oh, I gotta look down. Because
You were not digging that at all, man. You were not digging it at all.
They came to me and said, so what we're going to do is we're going to shoot you at an angle so that we won't see your feet and you'll be standing on a platform. And I said, well, that's not really very good, is it? Wouldn't it be better if you could actually see my feet dangling? They said, well, yeah, but it's a whole other... So the production went to work and they came back and they said, yeah, we're still going to do that. And I was all gung-ho and I got out there and I was out there for like 10 seconds. And I'm like, this is so shitty. I'm just so badly right now. Do you remember that day? Because I'm at his apartment and I'm hanging outside his apartment. He handcuffs me to the fence and sort of. But so like there's so many things like that. There's so many moments that I have where I'm just like, I can't even believe I'm like, my hair's not burnt off or I'm still here. Remarkable.
They did some crazy things. I mean, when they built that submarine, the conning tower coming out of an ice cap, they did that on the sound stage, and they trucked in I don't know how many tons of snow, and that was an amazing shot on hydraulics. That thing coming up, and it looked like a submarine conning tower coming out of an ice cap. I had a fight that the elevator fight that I had with X, that Skinner had with X, was it was interesting just because Stephen Williams and myself, we choreographed it ourselves, figured out what we're going to do. I'm going to headbutt you, blah, 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 this and that, throw you up against the back of the thing. Rob Bowman was directing the episode. So the first take, I grab Stephen and I throw him up against the back of the elevator, and I thought it looked pretty rough and tough, and so they called cut, and I said to Bowman, I said, how was that? And he goes, it looked a little weak. I said, okay. So the next take, I threw Stephen through the back of the elevator. He completely collapsed. I turned to Bowman and I said, better? Stephen's laying on the ground back there. But they gave us a lot of stuff. I tell you what, my body is, I've had my shoulder replaced, I've got bad hips, bad knees, and a lot of it is because I said, I can do that. I'm trying to tell the young actors now, let the stunt guys do it.
There was in that episode of Gender Bender when I was making out with this woman who became a man in the back of the car, and she gets the character gets out of the car as a woman, turns into a man in front of my eyes, and I said to Rob Bowman, I said, wouldn't it be cool? And I'd never met him before. If we like fogged up the window, and I was like, I did that, and then I saw her through the window, and he goes, yeah. So they go and they get a kettle, and they turn the kettle on, and they turn it on, and as the window's all fogged up, and there's this thing, right? We did another thing. We were sitting on top of a building. I said, wouldn't it be cool, like if just like there was just a bit of wind and my color was just kind of going like this? Rob goes, yeah, great. So they go down and get a big fan, on the top of the building, and then so just so my collar and my coat, you know.
It's like a nightmare.
No, but only because they would let me, right? They were like, yeah, let's do it. You're probably right.
Maybe that's what got your ass back for your
Maybe that's what got me shot in the head.
You're the guy that asks questions when the meeting's over, aren't you?
And then as we wrap up, obviously, Robert, Annabeth, I would love to know for you as well, like, were there any stunts or practical effects or those kind of, you know, situations and episodes that you can still look back at similarly?
Robert, go first.
I was sitting here thinking, there was a tank in Universal, we're underwater, Lucy Lawless. Water, underwater, scuba tanks. I remember that.
I can't tell you whether that was this show or not.
Was this on the X-Files or was it?
It was Universal. I'm trying to remember. Universal water tank.
Yes.
Universal.
Deep.
We did our show for Fox.
I know. They didn't have a tank. So it was a little, and I had to learn how to scuba and the whole kind of thing. Yeah, that was the X-Files. Lucy Lawless was like, come on, guys.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that. Annabeth.
I don't think I was in them.
Well, anyway, it was cool. But I do remember, I was telling Nick that I remember doing a fight scene with him in the parking lot. And weren't you dragged by the car? Weren't you like hanging on?
I'll do that.
Is that cool too?
It was fucking cool because it was him hanging out. It was cool. What else?
Do you remember that time that you and I were in a car?
Oh, his name was. His name was Glenn. I remember jumping off an oil rig with David Duchovny. An oil platform.
Oh yeah, remember that?
That was good. That was a good one.
What episode was that? Black oil or something? What was with the black oil, by the way? All these years.
It came.
I don't understand that.
I'll tell you right now. I'll tell you right now.
What was that?
So in World War II, there was a Japanese plane crash landed in the ocean, and the alien was inside the plane, and it got inside the engine oil, and that's how the alien traveled, was through engine oil. And so when it got out, and it got out back into the thing, it was traveling as this oil, and it would go, I'm telling you, and it would go from person to person to person as black oil.
I never understood that.
I didn't either.
Can you explain the bees? What's the deal with the fucking bees? God damn those bees.
We did an episode, Lord of the Flies, too, with Jane Lynch and the young man from what was that guy's name from Breaking Bad? Oh, yeah. You know the young guy?
Aaron Paul.
It was one of his first episodes. Yeah, he was in it, and Jane Lynch was in it, and there was Lord of the Flies. Damnedest episode. There was some stunts involved like this.
Well, I have loved this walk down memory lane. We are at the end of our time as well. I know, I'm so sad. Are you all heading back to your table to continue chatting with fans? Sure. This was so good. Thank you all so much. And thank you all so much.
Thank you for joining us and enjoy MEGACON